These online comics are either perfectly written thematically or are accidentally brilliant. They take an unexpectedly wholesome approach to the horror-filled, creepy, liminal space known as the Backrooms. Instead of horror comics, artist Sau Reen has created an oddly pleasant adventure through a realm of existential dread in their comic Backrooms Yuri. And it's not just that. This comic is hiding secrets. Secrets requiring me to break out my conspiracy board just to connect everything. After understanding every facet of these comics, the Backrooms, its Japanese genre origins, liminal spaces, let's just say it completely changed how I saw this comic series. If you look at horror movies, or really horror stories in general, you'll quickly see it's a genre that's willing to try anything. For better or worse.
Gobble gobble, motherfucker.
And the internet isn't just willing to try anything, it's a personal challenge. It's a match made in, well, hell, I guess. That's how we end up with creepypastas. Find video game glitches unsettling? Boom, it's its own genre of internet horror. Think Chuck E. Cheese animatronics look weird back in the day? Boom, multi-million-dollar franchise. Does the large floating head of Wario wake you up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat? Because that was a thing. What the fuck were we on?
You want fun? Wario show you fun.
But while the internet has inspired countless scary stories, it does tend to oversaturate. So after you've scrolled through your 50th post about spooky scary skeletons doing the Fortnite dance in a yellow room, this webcomic comes as a much welcomed shakeup to the usual Backrooms story. Welcome to Zombie Comics. I'm your host Aura, and I talk all things webcomics history, new and old, indie artists, and the comic writers at the very top. If you want to support me, you can like, subscribe, or I've got a Ko-fi and Patreon too. When I found Sau Reen in these comics online, I wasn't on r/comics or r/webcomics, not Webtoon, Tapas, or Netcomics. It wasn't even from a community I had joined. Weirdly enough, it feels like I clipped into this comic's Backrooms. I found it on r/Wholesome Yuri, which is a subreddit dedicated to the Japanese genre Yuri, aka girls love. While it is associated with lesbian romance first and foremost, it also includes platonic love. On the surface, this series seems like a simple feel-good romp between a girl and her monster, all set in the familiar world of the Backrooms. However, all the pieces and parts, it all fits together in a way that's much deeper than you'd initially think. Whether or not Sau Reen intended all of it, I can't say. It's honestly more impressive if it was all a complete accident. For now though, let's talk about the comic's characters. Mia is the unfortunate girl who managed to find herself trapped in the Backrooms. She's the type of person to develop trust quickly, likes chicken burritos, and tends to be somewhat carefree. Uncertain of how she got there or how long she's been trapped wandering the endless halls, all she knows is that she has to get home. It's either that or fall victim to one of the countless entities lurking around the Backrooms. Backrooms Yuri drops us, much like Mia, right into the action. We don't see anything of her life before she fell into the Backrooms. We start with her waking up in the mysterious area, dreading if she's stuck there forever. Though that should be the least of her worries. A dark creature lurks nearby. It wastes no time in confronting her. But Mia quickly learns that this void-like creature is of little threat to her. Mia introduces herself and provides the mute creature with lipstick to learn its name, which turns out to be Joob. Despite further questioning from Mia, Joob doesn't offer many answers. Luckily, Mia quickly found a friend in one of the nightmarish creatures local to the Backrooms. Meet Joob, a kind of void creature that's been in the Backrooms for a long time. A very long time. Possibly an infinitely long time. She doesn't even remember what she looks like. But she's taken a liking to Mia and resolves to help her escape. Of course, Mia is wary of Joob at first. After all, she's one of the horrifying entities of the Backrooms. She may be hostile. But the friendly creature quickly shows her loyalty, though she's still prone to some more volatile moods. And yeah, that about does it for the cast. Mia and Joob come across malicious entities, and Mia mentions having friends and family back home and a crappy boss, but apart from that, it's just Mia and Joob in here. Usually, the artist provides a bit of commentary or behind-the-scenes details, But while Sau Reen's accounts date back to 2022, she only became regularly active around May 2024, with a comic following a zombie named Alice and a vampire named Platy. The only background information comes in comments about Joob's name. They said they wanted a cute, non-human name, and after some experimentation mashing random letters together, they arrived at Joob. While the zombie and vampire comic is still ongoing, much of their attention was turned to Backrooms Yuri after the first episode's reception. Sure, compared to some of the artists I've featured with hundreds of thousands of upvotes, 10k might not seem like much, but our Wholesome Yuri is a smaller subreddit than our comics, with the topmost post of all time there boasting only 17,000. It's also been making waves over on our hellsome memes. It's a simple setup, easy enough for anyone to jump into this comic. Well, so long as you know what the backrooms are. This is one of those pieces that I said was important to unlocking the deeper meaning of this comic. For those of you who somehow avoided hearing about the backrooms, it harkens back to those creepypasta stories I mentioned earlier. An anonymous 4chan user posted this image in a thread about cursed images. Others were quick to point out how off it felt, but they couldn't explain why. It was only a matter of time before a user chimed in with a brief narrative. This story would be the catalyst for a sprawling narrative that reached the furthest depths of the internet. It doesn't sound like you could get much content out of a place where nothing is, nothing happens, and nothing changes, but never underestimate people's creativity. And then came the monsters.
Here there be monsters.
Go ahead, look up list of Backrooms entities and you will find website after website after website stuffed to the gills with skinwalkers, death moths, false bananas, and the gentlemen of level 5. There is an ungodly amount of creatures in these supposedly empty rooms. But the real reason the Backrooms grew popular was because of its status as a liminal space, which is another important aspect to understanding just how complex this comic actually is. So let's go one level deeper to talk about that.
Isn't this supposed to be a comic video?
Yeah, I know, just let me cook, trust me. A liminal space is, well, the best illustration of the concept is to imagine your home. Inside your house, you have your bed, table, TV, maybe some unfolded laundry, dishes you still need to wash. Outside is your front step, your neighbors, the trees and birds. But in order to get from inside to outside, you need to go through the door. While your hand grasps the handle and you pass beneath the door frame, you are in a liminal space. You are neither inside nor outside. You are in transition. And this idea can be applied to concepts like growing up, when you're not quite a child anymore, but you're not an adult. For the Backrooms, it's a space neither abandoned nor occupied.
Comic video.
Okay! Mia's concerns about the Backrooms begin to mount. What about food and water? Are there other entities? Are they friendly? And most importantly, is there a way to escape? For the time being, Joob can at least help her with obtaining food. She takes Mia to a restaurant, a mysterious booth that simply generates food from seemingly nowhere, but the food choices aren't great. At least until Joob lashes out, slamming her fists on the counter. Her dark body flares and startles Mia. But it does get results, and the two share a moment over the meal. This wasn't the only instance of Joob showing a more dangerous side. She's incredibly protective of Mia, even attacking other entities. However, she knows when she's outclassed. After wandering around and around and around, Mia finally finds an exit door and rushes to it, only for Joob to stop her. She insists repeatedly that Mia does not go through that door. But after endless aisles of just yellow walls, this has been the only thing even resembling an exit. The very least they could do is open it to see what's beyond. But Joob once again insists Mia not open the door. She weighs her options, heaves a sigh, and ultimately decides to trust Joob. Which was definitely the right move. Who knows what horror lurked beyond that not even Joob wanted to encounter. Mia's struggle to find a way home continued, hoping something would lead her in the right direction. Maybe there would be answers on another level of the Backrooms. All the while, Mia and Joob share quiet moments together, growing closer. Mia rests on Joob's shoulder, they try drawing portraits, ask about one another. The main emphasis of the story rests on the developing relationship between Mia and Joob. What is their relationship anyway? Are they romantic? Are they just friends? Roommates?
Oh my god, they were roommates.
Back roommates? No, don't put that in. Don't put that in. Well, this is where the understanding of the story's genre comes in, and it's one of the final pieces we need to look just a bit deeper into this comic. The Yuri genre in Japan dates all the way back to the Daisho and Showa periods, or around 1912 at the earliest. One of the first and largest influences of the genre was this woman here, Nobuko Yoshiya. One of modern Japan's most commercially successful and prolific writers, her writings pioneered Japanese lesbian literature. Many tropes and ideas found in Yuri can be traced right back to her. Most importantly to this story, though, is her work in the Class S subgenre. These stories depict lesbian attachments as emotionally intense yet platonic relationships destined to be curtailed by graduation from school, marriage, or death. The root of this genre is, in part, the contemporary belief that same-sex love was a transition and normal part of female development, leading into heterosexuality and motherhood. Now, I'm not saying that this genre was correct. God knows I would have a lot of friends pretty pissed at me for implying that being gay was just a phase.
It was just a phase.
Just a phase?
But the idea of intense romantic friendships between women isn't unfounded. Take a look at most societies in the world and you'll notice that heterosexual men can only be so familiar with each other before everyone labels them as gay, while heterosexual women can be far, far more familiar with each other without anyone batting an eye or questioning their sexuality. I know I'm talking in very broad strokes here, but I'm no expert in queer theory. I'm just a guy talking about women's relationships. Good lord, am I walking a fine line here. And this is what the Class S genre seeks to explore. Many straight women do go through a phase of intense romantic friendships when they're young. You could say it's a transitional space. A liminal space. See what I'm getting at? Taking a Yuri story, a genre intrinsically tied to liminality, and setting it in the Backrooms, the most infamous known liminal space, is kind of a stroke of genius. Despite most comments on our Wholesome Yuri assuming that they're together, Mia and Joob's relationship isn't explicitly defined. Don't get me wrong, they do show each other plenty of affection, Mia even throws the word date around, but that is the entire idea of Class S. It shows relationships that would otherwise be 100% romantic, but for one reason or another, remain platonic. It puts their relationship in a liminal space, the sort of floating girl love that can be taken either way. It all connects. Nobuko Yoshiya pioneered the Yuri genre and the Class S subgenre, which deals with the liminality of female relationships during a time of adolescence, while the Backrooms exist as a liminal space and a state of liminal time, which all feeds into the story of Backrooms Yuri, a title which basically just means liminal.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Though, that leaves just one last thing. It's what happens after the liminal state, when the relationship has to end. Mia's main goal is to leave the Backrooms. Joob agreed to help her, but Joob doesn't want to be left alone again. Joob doesn't want to lose Mia. Sau Reen could subvert the tropes, but if the comic continues to follow the pattern of Yuri and Class S stories, well, there may come a day when their relationship has to end. Or not. Honestly, I have no idea if the author thought half as hard about this as I have, but whether or not this was intended, whether or not you think Mia and Joob are romantic or platonic, it's a series that holds up under the same kind of literary analysis professors apply to any classic book or novel. And that's pretty awesome. At the end of the day, while this comic could easily be filled with horror and unsettling imagery and themes, it's a feel-good story that leaves you with warm, fuzzy feelings rather than existential dread. Be sure to give the series a read, support your local artists, and I am going to try to find a way out of here.